All right, brand spanking new podcast coming at you. It is January 16th. Can you believe it? It seems like it was just like Christmas, and here we are. But I'm fairly confident you're going to really love this podcast today because first off, we're going to be talking about Omnia fishing, partnering with Lindners Angling Edge. I'll get into more if you're not familiar with Omnia fishing. I'll get into more what Omnia fishing is, but cool news there. Tiny Boat Nation. This is an Instagram account that you need to follow. We're going to be talking about that. Also, kind of related to that, a poor man's shallow water anchor. If you always wanted to afford like a Talon or a power pole and couldn't, well, maybe now you can. A fish alarm brought to you by Coors Light. We'll get into that. A smartphone safety. Have you ever worried about losing your phone down a hole when you're ice fishing? Could be a real concern. We're going to talk about that and got a cool little solution for that. Also, traction on the ice. There's a guy that's got a two-wheel drive truck. It's crazy. 1995 Silverado. I still own it. I love it. It's my beloved truck. I have a very close relationship. Not weird, but it's two-wheel drive. If you're ever worried about traction on the ice, especially if you have a two-wheel drive truck like I do, this could help you out. So we're going to be talking about those things and more coming right up.
This isn't another fishing podcast. This is another fishing podcast.
All right, well, first off, let's talk a little bit about just what's going to be happening this week on Angling Uploaded. If you're just finding this podcast and you have no idea what's going on, Angling Uploaded is kind of the bigger picture here of what we're doing at Another Fishing Podcast. Think of it as an umbrella that covers all kinds of aspects of of what is happening here. So essentially what that means is, I apologize if I kind of doze off here a little bit. It's early in the morning. My wife is upstairs sleeping, and I'm trying to be somewhat quiet. But, it's, and then, I mean, it's early. It's very early for me. So if I kind of wander off, please just bear with me. I'm going to try to get my act together here. But so what Angling Uploaded is, and I apologize if you've heard this spiel before, but what Angling Uploaded is just it's a bigger picture of Another Fishing Podcast. So under this umbrella of Angling Uploaded, we have Another Fishing Podcast. Of course, we have Another Fishing Show. I shouldn't say of course. Another Fishing Show is it's kind of our flagship show. It's a show that I've put a lot of work into editing. I've heard people say it looks like a real television show. And the reason it might look like a real television show is because I've been working in television production for 23 years, basically. 23 years. Pretty wild. So anyway, an Angling Uploaded is just these different content pieces, if you will, that we do. It's the place where all that stuff, you can find all that stuff. So Angling Uploaded, really primarily it's a YouTube channel. So we have, I have, for instance, doing this podcast, we'll put the video podcast up on our Angling Uploaded YouTube channel on Mondays. Goes up typically around 5 p.m. Central for the podcast, for the audio podcast. And then I'm trying to get those up around the same time on our YouTube channel as well. So, around that time, but it might be a little bit later because it takes a while to get that stuff uploaded to YouTube. The audio, it's like no time at all, but basically when you have video, it takes a long time, especially when you're doing hour-plus long podcast. It takes a long time to kind of get that uploaded to YouTube. So that can, typically, what that means is it takes longer to get up there. So it's not, I'm going to try to get those up at 5 p.m., but it might be a little later for YouTube. So look for those on Monday. So that goes up on the Angling Uploaded YouTube site. And then also on Wednesdays, we're doing Underwater Wednesdays. So that's going to be, that's underwater. I have a tank over there. I have a 90-gallon tank I'm looking at right now where I test underwater lures And so that's what goes on Wednesdays. In fact, what I'm going to be doing this Wednesday in that regard for Underwater Wednesdays is jigging wraps, and I have some right here. Jigging wraps, right? What the heck does a jigging wrap look like underwater when it's worked, right? But now there's all kinds of styles of these baits. There's all kinds of manufacturers making these baits. So I think it's just, I don't even know what you'd call this genre of bait, like this jigging wrap. What is this? It's an odd looking lure, that's for sure, but there's a lot of people making them now. But I wanted to do an underwater video, and this is what we're going to do. What do jigging wraps look like when they're worked underwater? But also now there's like Rapala jigging shad wraps. So what does a Rapala jigging shad wrap look like as opposed to just the original jigging wrap? Is the action any different? So that's what we're going to do on, we're going to upload that video on Wednesday. So look for that on Wednesday. And also the jigging shadow wrap. This is a newer offering by Rapala. Why did they need a new jigging wrap? So this is the shadow wrap. We'll see how that works underwater. So check that out on Wednesday. And then on Friday is going to be a fishing video. I am probably going to film that tomorrow or Wednesday. Or both, maybe. Thinking I'm probably going to go crappie and catfish this week. So the crappie video will be up. There'll be a fishing video up on Friday. So I shouldn't get too specific on what exactly it's going to be yet, but there will be a fishing video on Friday. So check that out. So that's the Angling Uploaded. I got to come up with a better word, but that's everything that's under Angling Uploaded, right? So podcasts, fishing videos, underwater videos. And I was talking about another fishing show. Those take a lot of time just to film and then to edit. I want to get to a point where I'm putting up those, like I said, I think I said that. That's our flagship show, right? So, I want to put those up quarterly. That's that show I'm very proud of. We put a lot of time into that. So thinking quarterly with those eventually, but I'd like to film 4 of those a year and get those up, 4 times a year. So quarterly, spring, summer, fall, and winter is the plan there. And if I haven't said this already, I'm sorry I'm speaking softly. My wife is upstairs sleeping, and so I'm down here in the basement in the Vern Olson studio. It's named Vern Olson. Vern Olson is my father-in-law who helped me make this studio, so I've named this studio after him, Vern Olson Studio. So I appreciate you joining me, and let me think here. Is that everything? I think so. It's kind of funny. So I'm trying to determine what I'm going to do as far as fishing this week. I'm probably going to go out twice, one for crappie and one for catfish. One of the best ways to find good fishing places is to go to a bar and just sit. If you want to get drunk, that's fine. I've done that many times. Listen to the people around you. And especially if you're in a place where there's a lot of fishing activity, just sit at the bar and just listen. And oftentimes you'll hear people talking fishing, and then you can kind of, interrupt their conversation and get into it and just talk fishing. Before you know it, you're getting all kinds of information. And that's what happened recently. I was at a bar with my wife and started talking fishing with a guy at the bar. And he just kind of spilled the beans to let me know about a crappie bite going on at a lake not far from me. So I'm going to do that this week, and then probably doing some, probably doing some catfish too. So that is the plan. All right, getting into it here. I have a dog coming down. So, interesting. So, dogs have to go out, and I am going to stop recording right now, and I'll be right back. Don't worry, there won't be a pause. And just like that, through the magic of video editing, I am back. The dog has been outside. All the business is taken care of, so let's get back to this business. All right, so where were we here? So get intel from a bar. I can't get fishing intel from a bar. It's tip of the week. All right, so let's see. Do we want to get into it? Are we ready to get into it? Yes. So, okay. So fishing news, scouring the internet for all kinds of information about current, relevant, interesting fishing info. And this is what we have for the week. Omnia is partnering up with Lindners Angling Edge, and Omnia is what would we call Omnia? They are a tackle retailer, a place where you can buy tackle, all kinds of fishing tackle online. And they are not far from me. They are in a place called Golden Valley, Minnesota, which is basically in the Minneapolis area. And so they kind of came on the scene here relatively recent and making kind of a big splash. I like it because they seem to have a lot of different kinds of lures, right? Some hard to find stuff, some Japanese tackle, really, I don't want to say, everything's so, the level of tackle has just increased as far as just how good this stuff is. So, I mean, really everybody's carrying, for the most part, good quality tackle, but it seems like Omnia is really trying to make that a focus, but they're doing some other things too. So I want to get into this. I didn't really understand everything that they're doing. So the fact that Lindners, everybody knows the Lindners, right? Up north here, they are especially beloved. Al Lindner, they started, I mean, back in the 60s, if I'm not mistaken, with In Fisherman, and now they're doing, they sold In Fisherman, now they have Angling Edge. So they've partnered up with Omnia, and it sounds like a pretty cool partnership. So this is their press release off of Lindner's Angling Edge, and I learned all this through, I believe this is from Target Walleye. So it is Lindners joined forces with Omnia Fishing, and we'll get into the press release here. It is interesting. Omnia Fishing is a relatively newcomer on the scene, making big waves through its innovative tackle buying experience. For most anglers, today's tackle selection is overwhelming, says Omnia CEO Matt Johnson. What makes the shopping experience with Omnia so personalized is we provide product accommodations relevant to the bodies of water you fish, what you fish for, and when you fish them. In addition, everything we sell ships directly from us, getting the product in our customers' hands quickly and consistently. And I realize this sounds like a press release. I am not a fan of press releases, but the information is important here, and I think it's going to be exciting to see kind of what transpires here. And I didn't know that Omnia is doing all this, so we'll keep going here. Johnson is just scratching the surface of Omnia's unique shopping experience. Omnia's Shop by Lake feature allows customers to see fishing reports about the bodies of water they fish and get recommendations from experts on what works best. Now, see that? I didn't know that was going on with Omnia. Now, this idea sounds great if they can do it. I'm all for, I'm all for trying to get relevant fishing information. It sounds like, I love the idea. You click on a lake, and then you get information about that lake, what's going on there. But oftentimes, first of all, especially in Minnesota, there's a billion lakes, right? But oftentimes getting current fishing information on bodies of water, really good information is kind of lacking. That's always been lacking, up-to-date information and good information. So am I skeptical about this? A little bit. I'm a little bit skeptical about how well this would work, but let's get back to it here. Omnia makes finding the right tackle easy by presenting a refined list of relevant tackle based on the relationship between species, style, lake characteristics, season, community fishing reports, patterns, and products. It's different from anything that's been done before. Rather than experience decision fatigue, learn as you shop. And it's unbelievable when you spend some time on Omnia's website, pick a lake, get lure recommendations, and learn how to fish them. Today, high-end bass pros tell you the exact rod, reel, line, and lure setup they use for many popular techniques. It's absolutely flabbergasting, states Lindner Media President James Lindner. So, yeah, that sounds good and everything. I'm for it. As long as the information is accurate and current, and whoever is giving that information is truthful, right? They're not just trying to sell you products. So if they really got something here. If it's current information, it's accurate information, it's gonna be helpful for your fishing. It's not gonna waste your time. You're gonna be able to spend your time on the water. It's going to be a more enjoyable experience because you got good information. Obviously, I don't, if this thing's just to sell gear, then, I don't think people are going to be interested. So, but if it is really providing information and they can get that gear right there, they can buy it right there, it's going to be good information, I think it could be a great service. So, Lindner Media produces television shows, including Lindner's Angling Edge and Angling Buzz. Explains Al Lindner. We still have a very strong following with traditional television, but it's changing. Oh boy, is it ever. Every year our digital properties continue to grow, and we've been missing the service of providing our viewers with the opportunity to shop as they watch. We're using the stuff that flat out works. Our audience knows it and wants to buy it. Instead of those folks having to try and find it at a store or track it down online, they'll soon be able to watch and shop at the same time. This really feels like a crowning accomplishment after nearly 50 years in the business. And that's James saying that, James Lindner. So it's interesting because I've been thinking about this since I found this press release, and this is the beauty of the internet, right? And just kind of in general, and this is where television is kind of lacking, right? So there's two things there on that front. Television lacks in the fact that, when you're watching a TV show, you can't easily interact with the people that are on the TV, right? So you take a medium like YouTube, where post a video up, doesn't need to be a piece of, a masterpiece, doesn't need to be a Mona Lisa or, I don't know my masterworks, obviously, a Monet, a Picasso. Anyway, it doesn't need to, people just want information. They want information up there. If you do a television show, it's got to be, I've been in the business for a long time. Everything's got to be perfect. The thing about the internet is that you can get information up quickly. You can get video up quickly that's showing how to do something. I've found that people really want that more than anything, right? They want to just be able to go, oh, I can do that. So that's happening right now. They want, timely information. People not BSing them, right? So the beauty of YouTube and just internet in general is that people can then ask you a comment on that video. Right? Can't do that on television. They can ask specific questions about what you're doing in the video, and you can write back to them. Television doesn't offer that level of interaction. Okay? And then the other thing is with equipment. And, I could go out and I could do a video, and I can talk about what I'm doing, obviously, what equipment I'm using. So that, there's a cat going crazy over here. I'm sure if you've listened to this podcast in the past, I have a feral cat, and cat drives me crazy. I have a feral cat living in my house. Anyway, where was I? Okay, so yeah, you can. So with internet video, I can talk about what I'm doing. Of course, you can do that. You can talk about what you're doing. You can go into the specifics of what you're doing, what you're using, and how to buy it. Right. The easiest thing to do, and many people do this. I haven't really done it yet. I need to do this, and I will do it. But in the description of the video, you can have links to that equipment. So anything that I'm using, I can put a link. You can click on it. Amazon is a perfect example of this. I know a lot of people that do videos have affiliate links. So basically what that means is the equipment that they've used in the video, they'll put links down in the description of what they've used. And then if you click on that link, it takes you to Amazon. You can buy that product. And then, that the person doing the content, making the content, also gets like a commission off of that. Anything that's bought, they get a commission on that sale because of the, someone clicked on that link. So I kind of see this, what's going on with Lindners and Omnia. They understand that the landscape has really changed because of the internet, and so they're working to compete in that realm. It's YouTube is just blown up a lot of things, right? And so a lot of these bigger media institutions, like Lindners, they're having to really change their model, and I think this is a good idea. I'm excited to see what they come up with here. But it is interesting that this sort of already exists. I mean, you could essentially do this with your own YouTube channel. As far as talking about a product, and then whoever's watching can just click on, in the description, the products that you're using, and immediately buy that product. So they're going to have to offer, like Omnia is really going to have to make this thing stand out to compete with all of these different YouTubers that are, got a load of subscribers, and they're also telling people how to get their stuff and where to go. And, it's kind of the whole media landscape. Just look at me, for instance. I'm not a big YouTube channel. We don't have a big YouTube following yet, but I'm doing this in my basement, and it's just democratized the ability. It's democratized video, right? So people now have the ability to make videos in their basement and draw potentially huge numbers. You can grow a really big audience. So that's power, right? And now, YouTube's making it very easy to, even Instagram now, you can have shops, and they're bringing everything, they're integrating everything within their platforms to make it easier for people essentially to make money, but also the viewers. It's got to be a value benefit, so your viewers are able, not only is it easier to make money off of YouTube or just the internet in general, but it's easier for people using, YouTube or Instagram, Facebook. It's easier for those folks to basically, if they're learning something, or if they see a product, they can buy that product easier. So I don't know. I like the idea of fishing reports, and then going right, getting a fishing report and then going, okay, that's what guys are using. That's what's working on a body of water. Now I can buy it, but there's that part of me that's like, are they just, is the over, and I get it, like you're a business, right? I get it. Your overall, it's got to be, your overall plan has to be to make money. But if, in order for me to be interested in this thing, it's got to be the number one thing though, is that it's actually providing a good service. Or I'm not going to use it. So anyway, so here's, if you're listening to the audio podcast, what I'm showing right now is the actual Omnia fishing. It's their website. It's the first thing that pops up when you're on their website, and you see immediately a shop by lake feature. And you can hit the get started button, and that'll take you to, for instance, I live in Minnesota, so it takes you to Minnesota, and then it gives you on the the right, top Minnesota lakes. Lake Minnetonka is number 1. Number 2 is Mille Lacs. Number 3 is Lake Vermilion. 4, Leech Lake. The list goes on. But take, for instance, number 1, Lake Minnetonka. There's 221 fishing reports, 185 hot baits. So that's cool. The fishing reports, awesome. They got a good number of lakes here. And if it's, like I've said, if it's good, good information, and these hot baits are really hot baits, they can help you catch fish, I'm all for it. So I'm interested to see how this works. And again, this is, it's a new company. So, I'm hopeful, put it that way. So yeah, like you can even get in, pretty detailed. So the next, page that I'm bringing up here from the Omnia website is a more detailed, this is basically, I clicked on Lake Minnetonka, and now you can see there's fishing reports all over, not just Lake Minnetonka. There's fishing reports all over the surrounding area, different bodies of water. So it's even some video there, like Lake Minnetonka summer smallmouth breakdown. So that's cool that they're offering videos as well on their website. And yeah, I think if it can help you, if it can genuinely help you become a better fisherman, I think it's great. But it's got to genuinely help you become a better fisherman. Can't just be a way for this company to sell lures, right? So I don't know. Anything that Lindners kind of deals with, partners up with, is typically a good thing. So I'm excited to see what transpires with this partnership. But one thing I will say, please, so Omnia, let's go back to their, let's see here, this picture. So shop by lake is awesome. I'm all for it. But please, for the love of God, there needs to be a better way to buy rods online. Why is there not a better way to buy fishing rods online? So, I need a sip of orange juice here. One of the most frustrating things for me is when you're trying to buy rods, right, online. It's just buying rods just in general is one of the most frustrating things, because I've loved the idea of a technique-specific series of rods, right? Species-specific, right? So you've got like bass rods, and you've got walleye rods. Let's just take those two, right? So I want a drop shot rod, right? So, okay, in order for me to, I need a rod for drop shotting. It's so handy for a rod manufacturer to say, okay, this is our drop shot rod. Or you can even have a number of drop shot rods, but it's even on the rod itself. It says drop shot, right? I love that when a company does that. They can even, here's another example. Let's say I need a Carolina rig rod. Carolina rig rods are typically really long, pretty stout. Carolina rig rods, the bass specific actions, it makes it so much easier to order something online, even if you're walking around Bass Pro Shops or something. It's so much easier to know that the company has designed this rod specifically for a purpose. All right. And it frustrates me beyond all get out that, let's say even like you go to St. Croix or something and you go on their website or you want to order something. I have no idea. And if there are exceptions to this, please let me know in the comments, the YouTube comments, because I'm not aware of them. I haven't found a way to easily buy rods. Like, I mean, if you can't hold a rod in your hand, you can't, check that tip. How fast is that tip? If you want a rod that's more forgiving, more of a parabolic action, it's gonna like a crankbait rod. You can't, it's one thing to go, and even you can't even really test a rod just by holding it, in a store. So because you need a reel on there, you need line, you need to feel how that bait is kind of, it's kind of just feels, in your hand. A rod feels in your hand with everything, with a line on it, with a reel on it, with a lure on it. That helps you kind of determine, okay, if the action's right, everything feels right? So when you're buying a rod, it's like one of the most frustrating things in fishing. It would be so helpful if every company, or at least the high end or more high end ones, and the more like the Abu Garcias, the St. Croix, the Shimano's, the big boys. Why are you not putting in like at least online, what this rod, even if you're not going to do a rod that's like species specific or technique specific, at least online, you should have a place on your website that says this rod is great for this. This rod would be great. Every single action that you have, you should be putting what techniques this rod would really be good for. And they don't. I don't see how, to me, that's such like a no-brainer. So it would make rod buying so much easier. So what I'm saying to Omnia, you guys should really consider, if you're selling rods, which I'm sure you're selling rods, every single rod that you sell, you should if you can, I know this is work, but if you do this, you should be promoting the fact that you're doing this. But every single rod that you sell, you should be saying what that particular rod would be good for. And that would help out so immensely for people that are buying rods. I don't know why it hasn't been done before yet. It's crazy. So you could have like even, you can, how would I say this here? You can kind of rank the rods with what technique is best for them. For instance, different rod actions can be good for different techniques, right? For multiple different techniques. So you can have a jerkbait rod that would also work well for shallow running crankbaits, so maybe it's just a little bit better though for jerkbait. So rank it number 1, best rod for jerkbaits. Number 2, really pretty good rod for shallow running crankbaits. Please, someone do that. I'm begging you. Please. Okay. Moving on here. What that's my rant for the day. I might have some more rants, but that's the first rant. All right, so that is Omnia. I wish them all the best. They're right down the road for me. I think I'm excited for them. It's a cool It's a cool partnership, and they're doing some exciting things at Omnia. Please make a way to buy rods easier. All right, so if you are a fan of Instagram, which I am a fan of Instagram, I'm actually doing more on Instagram. I'm kind of learning more about it. Reels, or actually, do they call them Reels on Instagram? Yeah, they call them Reels on Instagram. Reels are, if you want to grow a Instagram channel, I recommend doing Reels. But I digress. Tiny Boat Nation is a Instagram account that you need to be following, okay? Even if you don't like little boats, what they're doing at this account is really, really cool. So let's just get into it here. So Tiny Boat Nation is an account where you can see little boats being decked out, customized into absolute fishing machines, right? So here is a pond prowler. If you're watching the video podcast, you'll see right now I am showing a picture of a pond prowler. I believe this is a Bass Pro Shops brand, a pond prowler 10. And so this thing's in a garage, and they're putting decks on it, like with Sea Deck, which is this it's this material that just kind of softens the deck. It makes it easier to walk on. It's non-slip, and it just looks cool. You can have like engraving put on it for like sponsors and stuff like that. But this Tiny Boat Nation, they show you all of these customizations they're doing. This thing has this little pond prowler's got 2 big graphs at the front. It's got power poles. It's got shallow water anchors at the back of it. Like, I see situations where, first of all, I mean, the reality is that not everybody can afford an $80,000 bass boat, right? And the reality is it's getting kind of obscene with fishing boats. And I'm trying to make an obscene fishing boat out here in my driveway, but it's going to take some time. But this is what we do, right? As fishermen, we just take it to, if you got the money, go for it, right? So pay $150,000 for a bass boat. But if you don't, there are options. So I love the idea if you don't make a lot of money, or you don't want to spend a ridiculous amount of money on a boat, you can buy a pond prowler, or a 14-foot, 12-foot, John boat or something, and really deck it out as much as you want. You could save a ton of money. Just you don't. I don't know. It's all in what you want to get out of fishing, right? If you want to, if this is something you're into, if you're a do-it-yourself person, or you want someone to make a boat like this for you, and still not have to, shell out the money for a expensive bass boat, you don't have to necessarily do that because of. This is actually, it's not just an account; it's a service too. So. I'll get into that in a second. But so here's another picture I'm bringing up on the video podcast. My wife has just woken up, by the way. So good morning, Jessica. Good morning to you. My wife is up, so I don't have to be as quiet anymore, but I'm still kind of quiet because I don't want her to hear me talk, and I'll feel embarrassed. Isn't that funny? Anyway, so this is just another boat. It's got Sea Deck on it. This is more of a John boat, but you can see they deck. The whole thing is deck. The whole thing is deck. There's cup holders. There's a trolling motor on the front. You need a trolling motor. Graph. The biggest thing is the Sea Deck, though. It really cleans things up. Makes this 14-foot boat look like looks like a real bass boat. Got an electric motor on it. I'm not sure exactly what kind of. I've not seen that particular kind of electric motor before, but it looks intense. But so it's just a nice option to have. If you have a smaller boat and you want to deck it out, you can deck it out and still not spend close to what you would for a bass boat, even a used bass boat. So if you're interested, if you're a do-it-yourself kind of person, you can do these modifications, or they also will do these this account, Tiny Boat Nation. They will build these boats for you. So it's an account to check out on Instagram. Here's another boat. It's got like this blue sea deck, and where they really what they're known for, I would say, the biggest thing that you notice with these modifications is that the whole boat is a deck. It's essentially a deck, which makes for a ton of storage, which is really, really cool, and then just an awesome platform. But here's the cool thing. So they have a store. It's called, you can go to tbnation.net, and this is their store where you can get all of the, gear to allow you to customize your own little boat. And on the front, the homepage of this tbnation.net website is this little pontoon that they've built. So you can buy that. But so I was perusing this site and checking out the different things that they offer. And I mentioned a power pole earlier. And obviously a power pole is one of those items that has just revolutionized fishing. I can't even believe that we were able to fish without power poles for the longest time. So I can't even imagine now not having, I don't have a power pole on my boat yet. Although I don't know, well, it would be nice to have one. I'm not even sure I can put one, I can put at least one on there. But anyway, they just, as far as when you're in shallow water, the fact that you can just anchor down immediately and you're pinned to the bottom and locked down. You don't have to worry about current or wind. It's amazing. It's just amazing technology, and it's improved fishing so much. So I thought when I first saw this picture of this pond prowler that's being worked on, I thought it was an actual like power poles they're putting on, 2 full powered power poles on this thing. And that's actually not the case. So these are manual power poles. And I'll show you what these things look like here. So these are called Roy's shallow water anchors. They're $400 each, and you can find them on this tbnation.net website. And so these are manual shallow water anchors, $400 each, but you got to check these things out. They're really well made. Looks exactly like a power pole, but it's done manually. And from what I've seen on videos, these things hold. So you can, it's kind of pulled up with a rope, kind of a pulley sort of system. But if you don't have the money for a power pole, or I know that power pole has like this micro anchor now. It's still $400 is cheaper than the micro anchor, I'm pretty sure. And these things, it's a potential option if you can't afford a like a micro anchor, a power pole micro anchor. So I think those are cheaper than $400, or those are more expensive. A power pole micro anchor is more expensive than $400, I'm pretty sure. So this could be a really cool option. I think it's neat that there's a manual shallow water anchor. So Roy's ROYZ shallow water anchor. Check them out. Google that, and you can see what's going on here. So Yeah, so it's handcrafted to order. Takes about 2 to 3 weeks for delivery. The best shallow water anchor. Oh my gosh, my dogs are being fed right now. Do you hear them? They're getting wound up. The best shallow water anchor and automatic stakeout pull for John boats in shallow water. Heavier duty than Power Pole or Minn Kota Talon or Raptor. Error-proof manual function and only a third of the cost or less. Effortless pull rope mechanism and ported machine tip that gets a grip on the lake bottom on the first drop. Huh. So there you go. I thought that was a pretty neat option to have for people that maybe don't have a lot of money or just want to keep their fishing more simple. So really cool. You can check that out. I thought that was an interesting find on the interweb. So okay, so where was I here? All right, so you may or may not know that I'm a big fan of Coors Light. I like all kinds of different beers, but I do enjoy Coors Light. I think it's the best domesticated light beer. Domesticated? I'm not sure it's domesticated, but it is domestic. But I found this on the Ice Fishing Minnesota. Check it out, Ice Fishing Minnesota on Facebook. Highly recommended. Andy Peterson there runs a great Facebook group, Ice Fishing Minnesota. And this is from Jason J. Sapir. And he says, the best bobber down alarms you can find. Empty Coors Light cans actually work great. Wake me up from a dead sleep every time. Anyone else use this trick? So this is in a sleeper wheelhouse. So basically, if you're an ice fisherman, you know exactly what I said just there. But what this is, it's basically like a camper on ice. You can ice fish out of, and the guy has there's 3 holes that to ice fish out of, and So if you're not an ice fisherman, how this works is at night your DNR here, at least in Minnesota, is you have to be tending to your line. You can't have an unattended line, right? So if you have a line, let's say you're sleeping in your ice house, and but you want to have a line down, right? Well, if a fish takes that, it's got to alert you. So a lot of times people use what's known as a rattle reel, and if a fish takes your offering, that rattle reel will it's got like rocks, or it's got a way to make noise, right? So it's like a spool line. It'll start spinning and alert you. So it's like makes a racket, and you wake up and you set the hook and you got a walleye. That's the idea. Well, this guy, what he's done is he's just decided to use Coors cans, empty Coors cans, because obviously he's an alcoholic. I appreciate that. And he's essentially just ran the line through the tab, where you pop the top of the Coors can. He's run the line through that down to the water. And so if a fish takes it, the can tips over, alerts him, and there you go. It's very simple, but something someone with a problem, an alcohol problem, would do. And who knows how many empty Coors cans. I mean, that's at a premium. He's got plenty of Coors Light cans, so why not use them, right? I think it's being resourceful. All right, so the next thing that I thought would be useful that I found on the interwebs, so oftentimes, especially just fishing, but in ice fishing, there's always gear that'll go down the hole. So this is just, I got a buddy that he's another camera guy. In case you're listening to this for the first time, I'm a freelance videographer. I'm a camera guy. So, and a lot of the stuff that I do is on the water. And there's times where I pull my phone out, and a few times I've almost lost my phone, which could just be traumatic, tragic, tragedy. It's something you don't want to have happen. So I saw this on the Ice Fishing Minnesota Facebook group. So it's a great group, by the way. If you're an ice fisherman and in Minnesota, you really should be on that group. Andy Peterson is the gentleman that runs it. I've done a podcast with him before. Probably should do one again soon, if you would be so kind to come on. But anyway, so this is from Benjamin Tietz. I've seen a lot of posts this winter about people dropping their phones down ice holes. I own RoboHawk. I want to make sure. Yes, RoboHawk, where we offer tethers for phones and gear. Our tethers are tough as nails and handmade in Iowa. So you're getting something that's made here in the U.S. We appreciate all of the support that we've received from our neighbors in Minnesota and this group. I know there are a lot of options, but I invite you to check out. So if you go to RoboHawk, RoboHawk.us. Sorry about that. And let us know what you think. Thanks in advance. So it's RoboHawk Outdoors. They have these tethers for your phone. And it's www.robohawk.us. RoboHawk. RoboHawk.us. So www.robohawk.us. They are offering these tethers specifically designed for fishermen to make sure that your phone stays tethered to you and does not go down an ice hole or just flop out of the boat. And it's just, these are important. It's something that you kind of maybe don't think about. Like maybe it would be a good idea to have a tether on my phone while I'm fishing. And I hadn't thought about this really before. There's been a number of times where I've nearly lost my phone, but my buddy that I'm sorry if I'm rehashing this, but my buddy that is another camera guy. He's got a tether, and I just seen him with it. I'm like, you know what? That's really smart because we're out on these boats all day. A lot of times we're, so I fish for Major League Fishing. He's also, or I film for Major League Fishing. He also films for Major League Fishing, and there's been times where he's nearly lost his phone, while on a boat. So just seeing him with that tether, I got to thinking about it. That's probably not a bad idea. I have an iPhone 13. I have an iPhone 13 Pro Max. The thing is like giant. There's been a number of times where I've nearly lost it. So having a tether on there, I think, makes a lot of sense. And I came across this on Ice Fishing Minnesota, the Facebook group, and I just thought it was something that I should probably pass along. I have no affiliation with that company, but sounds like it's a good company, and the guy is, I think, a fisherman, and he's making products for fishermen. So thought it would be worth talking to you about here today. And okay, so where are we? So I have a 1995 Chevy Silverado pickup truck that I treat like it's my baby, right? I'm very, very attached to this truck. And it's why, there's a number of reasons why I still have it. Number one, I can't afford a new truck. Maybe that's the biggest reason. Second biggest reason, I just really love it. But it's a two-wheel drive truck, so in Minnesota, especially in the winter, it can be a real struggle. And especially, I've driven it on the ice, but there have been a few times where I've been very concerned about getting off the ice. And I saw this, and this is a great, this is a great product just for anybody, really. Even if you have a four-wheel drive truck, this is going to come in handy, because even if you have a four-wheel drive truck, it does not mean that you can get out of every situation. So this is from the Ice Junkies Outdoors Facebook group. I found this, and this is posted by a guy named Mike Westfall, and it is an attachment. It's basically an advertisement from All Ice Fishing. But, and again, I hesitate to, I hesitate to like I don't want this to sound like an advertisement, but if I come across a product that I think is like awesome, or it's got some potential, I'm going to talk about it here. So 0 flooding issues until we lifted the house. Sure glad we had the Instatraction Big Grippers with. So in this post, this guy is he's trying to move his ice house, right? But he's on just a very slippery surface. He's on the lake and there's water over the lake, right? So he's on a frozen lake and there's water on top of the ice, and he's trying to pull his ice house, move his ice house, and he's just spinning. Even with 4-wheel drive, he can't move it. He's just spinning. So he puts this Instatraction Big Grippers on, and so it's like a giant claw that he's putting over the rear wheel, and it goes on here. This awesome product only takes seconds to install and remove. To learn more about this product, visit our website at allicefishing.com. So I've never seen one of these before. Maybe I'm just ignorant. I am ignorant for sure, but I'm definitely ignorant to this technology. But this would come in really handy. I need to have these in my truck. I'm really surprised that this is the first time I've heard of such a product. So if you go to allicefishing.com, you can order one of these things, and it's called Instatraction. They're $119, and I'm pretty darn impressed with these things. I'm trying to see here. Yeah, $119. I'm blowing this up here so I can see it and I can read it more specifically. So extreme traction for emergency situations in snow, ice, and mud. Instatraction products have been designed and built to attach and remove in seconds and withstand repeated use in rugged terrain and the most extreme conditions. Steel construction, heavy-duty steel ratchet, and reinforced straps. Instatraction is available in 2 sizes and comes as a set of 2. So, yeah, you basically just strap this thing to the tire. It's like a claw that goes over the tread of, your tire, and I'm very impressed with this. They're not cheap. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. $119 is not cheap, but boy, it could save you in the long run, big time. So I've needed these in the past, and I am definitely going to pick up some of those. So I thought I would let you know about that. I'm when I'm going through the internet, I try to do this every, before these podcasts. I don't try to do them. Every one of these podcasts, I'm going through, Target Walleye is a great, if you haven't checked out Target Walleye, go to targetwalleye.com. They also have a newsletter. They've got a ton of great information. But I go through Target Walleye, seeing what's going on in the fishing world. Also, Bass Blaster is a source that I use a lot. So got to be careful saying that. Bassblaster.com. They also have a newsletter, an email newsletter. Jay Kumar does that for Bass Blaster, and then Brett McComas does Target Walleye. Great sources there of information. I'm also, oftentimes going ice fishing Minnesota, checking out what they're doing, and then this last post was from Ice Junkies Outdoors. That's also a Facebook group you should check out. Oh, how else am I gathering information? Just even if I hear something, at the bar, that I haven't that I haven't heard about in the fishing world, I'll bring that. I'll talk about it. So, all kinds of different things, different ways to bring information to you on this wonderful podcast. I'm so glad you have joined me. What is in store for this week? Well, this is something that I'm excited about. I was on Instagram yesterday or the day before, and David Dudley, who is a professional bass fisherman on the Major League Fishing side of things, I I followed him on Instagram. I can't remember exactly what happened, but he had reached out to me after I followed him. And then it was something like that. But the important point to this story is that David Dudley reached out to me on Instagram, and I asked him if he would be interested in doing a podcast at some point. So that's going to be in the works. I've worked with David a lot. David's pretty wild and crazy. There's a lot we can talk about. He actually did very, very poorly with COVID, and really, really bad. He nearly lost his life. But the reason he did so bad was that he learned he had diabetes, and he had bad diabetes. Do you hear this, cat? Can you believe this? My goodness gracious. Anyway, my cat is interrupting this important podcast. So anyway, David had very bad diabetes and didn't realize it, and COVID almost took his life, but kind of saved his life too. So I think it'd be really exciting it'd be interesting to talk to him about that particular aspect of what's happened to him, in the last 2-3 years. Because this cat it's so hard. I have ADHD, I'm pretty sure. I've talked about this the last podcast, and I'm not taking anything for it. So when I hear a cat going crazy over here, it just jumbles up my brain. I can't think clearly, so I'm doing my best. See, listen, he's trying to get to me. That's Oliver, by the way. Great cat, though. I love him. But back to David. So he essentially, this cat thinks I'm talking to him. Wow. I have no words. Okay, so David Dudley, he basically had COVID so bad that he nearly died, learned that he had bad diabetes, that possibly if he let it go, and it could have really threatened his life. So he's really turned a lot of things around. He's gotten in better health. He's way more thin. He's exercising, and it'll be fun if might do this podcast this week or next, probably next week. But I want to talk to him about all this stuff. And obviously his fishing too. He's got this wacky style. It's a bait specifically designed for wacky rigging. And it really, if you know anything about a Senko style bait, soft stick bait, the whole action of these baits, really why they were designed, is that fall, right? So when that bait falls, it's waddling down. It's more of, it's not a wiggle. Well, I guess you can call it a wiggle. It's wiggling down as you let it fall to the bottom. That is the action of a soft stick bait like a Senko. So what David's done, he's perfected that, and so I can't remember right offhand what that lure is that he's made, but he's been selling that. He's also got a line of rods and reels that are the craziest colors you can imagine. So I'd like to talk to him about all that stuff, but might do that this week, film that. Probably we'll do it next week, but look for that coming up. Also, like I said, I'm going to be fishing. I'm fishing twice this week, so I'm thinking I'm going to go crappie fishing on that lake that I got that information from the guy at the bar, and then probably going to do catfishing through the ice as well. So that's what's happening this week. Look forward to seeing you, hearing me, us seeing each other. Next Monday, we're going to be right back at it doing another podcast. So really appreciate you joining me today. Hope you've had fun. I've had fun, and we're gonna call it a podcast. We will see you next Monday.